Hello and welcome to the second episode of the Climbing Science Show. In this episode we're going to be putting these 3 bouldering pads to the test. Now, if you're looking to graduate from the bouldering gym and get outside climbing on real rock for the first time, then you're going to need one of these pads to protect you from falls and keep your ankles safe when you're coming off your project. We've got 3 of what we reckon might be the best first time pads on the market here in the form of the Black Diamond Circuit, the Moon Pluto and the Snap Hop. Coming in under £200 and packed full of all the features you might want from a first time bouldering pad, which is the one you should spend your hard-earned cash on? Let's get on with test number 1. Welcome to the site of test number 1, where me and cameraman Ben have pitched up here roadside, ready to approach the crag with our 3 new bouldering pads. In this test, we're going to be looking at the carrying capacity of each of the pads. Can it fit me inside? We're going to be looking at the carrying comfort for Ben, using all the systems that each of the pads put in place. And we're going to be seeing if the system in itself is strong enough to get me there in one piece. Let's get on with it. First up, the Snap Hop. This time it's the Black Diamond Circuit. Last but not least is the smallest and the only taco folding pad on test, the Moon Pluto. Now I've tested the pads and been back and forth to the crag, it's time to crunch the numbers. Back to the studio. Back in the studio and it's scores on the doors. We're going to start off with the Snap, which went first in test number 1. Now, the Snap clearly did the best on test, and we felt that it had the most room to pack more kit in. It got me in quite comfortably, but also I had room for shoes, chalk bag, you name it. I could have even taken a friend. We also felt the foam was the nicest, the softest, the most plush around my body, but also the best at conforming to products when you put them inside. And then, of course, the shoulder straps, which are nice and robust, and Ben made great use of when we walked miles into the crag. So for that, we're going to give it top marks, 3. Next up was the Black Diamond Circuit pad. Although this had the same amount of room inside the pad as the Snap did, it wasn't quite as effective when loading products inside. This was mainly due to the stiffer, higher density foams around the outside of the Black Diamond pad, which really made it hard to conform around my body, hence why it took Ben a little bit longer to get me inside. In the real world, me and Ben have used this pad and it's the same story, especially with smaller items like climbing shoes and chalk bags. Because of that stiff, rigid foam, it's so hard to conform around products and properly give it that snug fit inside. So thanks to that, it came second on test. However, the Black Diamond does have an ace up its sleeve, the waist belt. This makes it a lot easier to carry heavier things over longer distances for big approaches into the mountains or crags further afield. So for that, it gets a bonus point. Last and sadly least on test was the Moon pad. At 1 metre by 1 metre is quite considerably smaller than the Snap and the Black Diamond pad, and as such has a reduced carrying capacity too. As you could probably see on test, I barely fit inside, and it's going to be exactly the same case with your climbing shoes and chalk bag on the way to the crag. One point to note is the adjustable carry system, where the shoulder straps can be turned into an across the shoulder bag style carry. But in reality, this only meant that when Ben was carrying me to the crag, the Velcro that was attaching the straps to the pad started to come undone and felt really insecure. So it can only be last for the Moon pad. So that wraps up test number 1, and it's tight at the top between the Snap and Black Diamond pad. Interestingly, the foam played more of a role in this one than we were anticipating. So in test number 2, we're going to take a deeper dive into that foamy goodness. Hello and welcome to test number 2. We've come down to our local crag today to test out the most important thing about any bouldering pad, its ability to stop a fall. 3 pads, 3 melons. Which will come out on top? We're going to drop our melons on their pads from increasing heights to see which can survive the biggest fall. Drop number 1 for our pads, and we're going to go at 50 centimetres. Let's see how they do. Ready? 50 centimetres. So no surprises, at half a metre all of our melons survived. Let's crank it up to 1 metre. 3, 2, 1, go. All the melons still going strong at 1 metre, but who's going to crack first? Let's get up to 2 metres. Oh, we've had a crack. We've had a crack. Honda's ankles have actually gone. I don't know if this will survive 3. Oh, and at 2 metres, we've got our first minor injuries for both the Black Diamond and the Snap pads. Surprisingly though, the moon is still going strong. Let's see how they fare when we get it all the way up to 3 metres. 3, 2, 1. Oh, snap. Oh, and at 3 metres, the Black Diamond's out of the race with Adam Ondra smashed to smithereens. There's some heavy damage for Honnold 2 on the Snap, but the moon with Jakob Schubert is still going strong. Let's see how they both fare at 4 metres. Go. Oh, dear. And at 4 metres, Honnold has predictably met his end. Entering solo territory there, and the Snap is finally out of the race. Heading on up to 5 metres, with the moon pad still going so strong. Let's see how far it can go. 5 metres. He's alive! He's injured, but he's alive! Oh. And I can't believe this, at 5 metres the moon pad is still just about hanging on in there. Jakob has sustained some heavy injuries, but let's see if he can get up to 6 metres and survive. Let's see how you fare at 6 metres. Testing. Oh, 6 metres was just a step too far for the moon pad and Jakob Schubert, but what a fantastic result for the smallest pad on test. Wow, well, we're back in the studio and I'm only just coming down after test number 2. What a set of results. Who'd have thought that would be the way it would pan out with our melons? And well, whilst we appreciate it was a little bit of fun using melons as our demo ankles, we did actually come up with some real tangible data. And let's start with the Black Diamond pad, which came 3rd in this test, so it only gets 1 point on our board of statistics. And why is this? Well, the Black Diamond is the only pad on test that features a sandwich foam construction, meaning that there's a closed cell section of stiffer foam on top and on the bottom of the pad, with this open cell squishy foam in the middle. Whilst this might be great at absorbing the impact of a human being falling it from great heights, it wasn't necessarily the best absorbing the lower impact from our melons, which leads us on to the Snap pad, which came 2nd in test. Now the Snap pad only features quite a simplistic construction of closed cell on the landing zone and nice squishy open cell underneath it, and this seemed to really work in this test, absorbing the lower impact of the melon, dissipating that load across the entire pad and meaning that the melon survived a little bit longer. So the Snap came 2nd on test. Let's get it on the board. Which brings us on to the clear winner of this test, the Moon Pluto. Who'd have thought the moon would take a melon all the way up to 6 metres high? Why did this happen? Well, we think it might have something to do with the taco fold construction of the pad. Being a solid single piece of foam meant that it could consistently and easily dissipate the forces of our falls, unlike the hinge designs which feature 2 separate bits of foam. So it's a solid 3 points for the moon pad. An incredible performance from the moon pad, which takes it into 2nd place with the Black Diamond pad. The Snap pad's just out in front, but can the other 2 catch up in our 3rd and final test? Here we are at the site of test number 3. We've packed our pads, we've dropped melons, and now it's time for the all-important durability test, the one we've all been waiting for. So, without further ado, let's get on with the test number 3. Test number 3 is all about durability. To simulate the tough conditions bouldering pads face in climbing landing zones, we'll test the strength of their face fabrics and foam by shooting arrows at them from distances of 20, 15, 10 and 5 metres away. The pad that best withstands the arrows wins. Boom, and And there we go, the first arrows have been fired at 20 metres. The moon and the snap are still holding pretty strong, but the black diamond has let one through. Let's see how they fare at 15 metres. Oh wow, and at 15 metres, the stand has been blown wide open. The moon and the black diamond still relatively consistent with the 20-metre offerings, but at 15 metres, the snap has been totally smashed. Let's see how they fare even closer at 10 metres. And at 10 metres, it's the tale of the zero to hero. In the last round, the snap got totally penetrated. This round, it's actually come out on top. The moon has stayed consistent right throughout, just getting incrementally more penetrated. And this time, the black diamond has started to fade. So let's see how we go on at 5 metres away. And our last shots have been fired at 5 metres, and the snap completes its redemptive arc, going from an awful showing at 15 metres to its best showing at 5, not even penetrating the back of the pad. The moon continued its really strong performance and came back swinging with a really decent showing at 5 metres. We hit one of those fancy rubber strips, and we've been trying to hit those the whole round, but that really slowed the arrow on its way through the pad. Commiserations to the black diamond though, that got absolutely obliterated here in the final round, and well, you can only say it came last in test. But hey, let's get back to the studio to dive into the statistics. Wow, well, I never thought I'd see the day where I used my skills as an archer to fire arrows into 3 bouldering pads, but there we are. And as stupid as it might seem, we did actually get some tangible data from this test, testing the quality and the durability of the foam and fabrics on our 3 pads. And how do we measure this, you might ask? Well, what we've done is we've taken an average for the penetrative distance of each of the 4 arrows that were fired at our pads. The lower the average score, the better the pad has performed with more quality and more durable fabrics and foams. Obviously, none of our face fabric is going to stop an arrow, so that brings the foams into the equation. So they really played a part in stopping the arrows from penetrating through the back. Well, that brings us on to the pad I have right here, which is the one that performed best on test, the Moon Pluto. Coming in with an average of 3.4 centimetres of penetrative distance through the back, it wins again. Can you believe it? Which brings us on to the snap pad. A solid second place showing from the snap, and bar one freak result at 15 metres, it arguably performed best on test, just a little bit inconsistently. So let's get it on the board. Last and definitely least on test was the black diamond pad, with 2 terrible showings at 10 and 5 metres, which makes its average penetrative distance 9 centimetres. To put this in context with the rest of the competition, the winner, the moon pad, was 3.4 centimetres, and the snap was just nearly second with 4 centimetres. So the black diamond was way out in last place. A terrible showing overall, and that can only mean one thing: 1 point on our board. Now it's time for the final results, and as you can see on our board, there are 2 clear winners for our test. The snap pad and the moon pad, both featuring very similar foam constructions. It's a case of which you prefer and which suits your use case the best. The moon pad clearly has the better quality foams, and it absorbs falls slightly better than any other pad on the test, but the snap pad is arguably, as the first test shows, more of a utility pad. It's got a larger surface area and a slightly better carrying system. So both are entirely recommendable, it just depends what you're looking for. Which brings us on to the black diamond circuit, which takes a resounding last place on our test with only 4 points. Generally, the quality of the materials don't seem to be quite as nice as a snap on the moon, and the stiffer foam didn't really lend itself to our tests. I'm sure it has a really nice carrying system and some nice neat features like that waist belt, but generally speaking, for most bouldering use case scenarios, we'd recommend the Moon Pluto or the Snap Hop. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and check out the EpicTV channel for more content coming soon.